Today I've received a new set of wheels and a new rear hub. That wheel already has a hub. Yeah, my existing wheels are in bad shape. I need 26-inch wheels with quick release axles, but these new wheels are through axle, so I'm going to swap the rear hub. I've never done this before, so I'm going to take a crack and we'll see how it goes. So my new plan was to simply delace the Octane One rear wheel and reuse all the spokes and nipples laced into the DT Swiss hub. DT Swiss recommend using their specific spokes, but I'm comfortable to take this risk. To do things properly, I really need to know what spoke tension the rims can handle. Octane One doesn't seem to have that information on their website. I could contact support and I'm pretty sure they'd promptly tell me, but I chose to simply measure the existing spoke tensions and stay close to that reading when I relace. It's not foolproof, but hey, why take 3 minutes to do it right when I can do it wrong and cost myself a rim? There are many specialist tools to build wheels. I didn't really have any of them, and I wasn't keen to buy them in case I never ever did this again. I did, however, buy two specific tools. This Park Tool PM1 spoke tension meter and this Park Tool WAG5 wheel dishing gauge. Park Tool sells multiple versions of both tools, and these are the cheapest ones. After using them, I can see why, but I don't think I'd pay much more to get the upgrade. The PM1 sticks a little, so I'm not entirely sure exactly the tension of my spokes, but I found that using a consistent action with the tool means that at least all my spokes are relatively tensioned. The WAG5 did its job just fine. So far as I can see, the benefit of the WAG4, which is basically double the price, is that the WAG5 doesn't have the little stanchions that sit on your rim so that the inconsistencies in the tire or the tire mounting doesn't mess with your measurements. The more expensive unit is also less flexible, so you don't accidentally mess your measurements by putting weight or pressure on the gauge when you're measuring. And the slider moves a little smoother, making setting an accurate measurement easier. I can easily and simply work around all these differences and I'm quite happy with my purchase. Oh, and the WAG5 can be collapsed for storage, which is awesome. To adjust the nipples, I used a spoke wrench in my Park Tool IB3 multi-tool. It worked okay, but my nipples are a little worse for wear after the fact. I don't have a truing stand, so I used the bike frame and a cable tie. Instead of putting one cable tie on either side like most people do, I simply installed one across my seat stays and measured and marked for center and rim left and rim right. Technically, this gives me both truing and crude dishing, but I didn't think of that before buying the dishing tool. Also, the dishing tool was only $50 Australian, which is about $35 US. One last thing on setup and approach. I didn't have spare rim tape, and due to COVID, I wasn't going to have any anytime soon. So I needed to do the hub swap without any of the nipples falling back into the rim, and without being able to use a nipple driver, just to make my first attempt that little bit harder. The first thing I did was take note of the current average spoke tensions, noting that the left and right side spokes have different tensions as they are on different angles due to the hub flange positions and accommodating things like disc brakes and cassettes. Then, I checked the lacing pattern. There are a handful of common ones and mine are 3-cross, which means every spoke crosses 3 others. Also, the front and rear wheel appeared to be laced identically, so I knew I could use the front wheel as a guide. With that done, I pulled this sucker apart, making sure I put a tiny cable tie on each nipple to stop it falling back into the rim. This approach worked well. To relace, I copied the front wheel, being sure to keep the valve in the same place and line up both the hub flange holes and the spoke direction. I didn't want my valve to end up inside a little cross, making pumping that little bit less convenient. I figured it was okay to reuse the same spokes. They were essentially brand new and were pretty straight. I figured spoke failure is either due to fatigue or sharp and hard impacts. These spokes had not really been subject to either. One thing on my mind was that the spokes seemed to have embedded themselves into the flange holes in the old hub. This means that it's likely the elbows in the spokes changed shape a little too. They could therefore have a weakness. As usual, me being aware of a risk and actually mitigating it are different things, so I proceeded regardless. With the wheel laced, I adjusted all the nipples to the lowest tension reading I'd found on the old wheel setup. I threw the wheel on my trusty truing stand and set about tuning this thing up. At first, things were wildly off, so I took a while to get the wheel to somewhere near right. Then I took some measurements to see how my spoke tensions were going. I was surprised to find that all my spoke tensions were super high, and my wheel was still out of whack. I was super glad I checked. I backed off the spokes on the left side of the wheel, and things started to look pretty good. Fine-tuning the true was a little fiddly, but less than I was expecting. I would find the peak of any wobbles and adjust the spoke at the peak by a half turn and the two neighboring spokes a quarter turn. When things got pretty close, I adjusted the spoke at the peak of the wobble by a quarter turn only. Towards the end, I leveraged the wheel tension app on ParkTool's website. There's a link in the description. This was to make sure I could identify and weed out any areas of odd tension. I could have just done this with a pen and pencil, but ParkTool's built the web page, may as well use it. I'm not sure you need to have all of the tensions so perfect, but my wheel appears true as with perfect tensions, so why not? Last, I double-checked the dishing, gave a final quick adjustment, and then called it success. In the end, the process was pretty straightforward, despite my making it harder for myself at every turn, and I'm super happy with the outcome. As soon as our COVID restrictions lift, I'll get out and test this in anger. Let me know in the comments what you liked and didn't like about this piece. I hope you found it entertaining, and thank you for watching.